CPM D2. Let's talk about it. I got this knife from Steve Callari at Steve Callari Custom Knives. This is the tried and true model. Came with the sheath. I had no issues with the sheath. It works perfectly fine, perfectly functional. No complaints about that. And I've done some cut testing on this. I did it actually a while ago, but we'll do a video on it. Discuss my findings. I have cut tested Steve's CPM 154 and his 4V, and they both done exceptional in my cut testing. Recently I seen a couple videos where people talking about edge retention being only based on Rockwell hardness and the actual blade profile itself. I decided to test differently. I decided to test what the apex is actually doing. Obviously, having a very thinly ground knife is going to help cutting in real world, but the point of doing controlled cut testing is to actually see how the steel performs. My testing, I believe, tests out the heat treat of the steel, and it provides metrics, at least for me, on how to properly evaluate what the heat treat actually is. The reason I do my ice block testing is to actually form my own metrics on how, or shall I say, what edge angle I will need to get the performance that I want. When you do controlled cut testing, you're living in a bubble, and it's the most ideal situation. And the real world is not sunshine and rainbows. Judging how fast the decline actually is in performance when I do the ice block testing tells me on steels like especially M398 that in order to get the stability that I need to raise the edge angle, and it's going to compromise my cut test numbers. However, I need more stability, more strength at the apex itself to do what I normally like, for everyday carry usage. That's the purpose of ice block testing. I've done, like I said before, 2 steels from Super Steel Steve in that testing, and I decided to do something different with the CPM D2. I decided to do more of a kitchen style testing, which I haven't seen. In my opinion, kitchen knives, they face corrosion resistance problems more often than any other blade profile or knife format, I should say, because you are constantly cutting strawberries, tomatoes, onions, peppers, a lot of citrus foods. And my opinion, a lot of home cooks, maybe not on a professional level, they generally do not wipe the knife off after using it. I know Steve's got a culinary background, professional chef. I don't know all the details about it, but I'm pretty sure he knows. He could probably speak on this a lot more than I can. However, on a home cook environment, I feel like there's a lot of people that are just going to leave it down there and leave it in the sink, or they'll just leave the remnants on the actual apex itself. Now what happens, and when I talk to people, they always have problems about their knives going dull. Obviously, they're using cheapo Walmart kind of crap knives, not something custom heat treated. But since nobody has done any testing like this, I figured I'd give it a shot, try something different. The spirit of my testing is to literally fuck around and find out and see what's what. And especially since I have tested 2 of Steve's steels, we'll try something different with this one. Now, the first testing that I did was just to actually gauge what the performance can do by itself. Performance I got on that style of cut testing on the sanding rolls was 390. Now 390 In my testing, I got the same number, 390, on Spyderco's ZDP 189 and their S90V. Out of box, this actually did better than custom magnet cut from another custom maker. Out of box, its performance is better. S90V, ZDP 189, I decided to do kitchen style testing. Now my test bed or my testing media was Sunny Delight to actually mimic an acidic corrosive environment. I soaked the knife for 4 minutes. Before I did that, I would put a couple layers of chapstick on there as a rust prohibitor. I did that with all the knives that I tested in that wave. And what I wanted to test it against, I wanted to test it against known standards. I decided I want knives that perform less than this and better than this. The knives that I tested that were better than this in regular cut testing were 15V from Spyderco, their K390, as well as Maximate. Steels that performed underneath it, or should I say lower than this, was their VG10 and their Carpenter's BD1N. I wanted to see how it actually fared, because a lot of times you just look at Laren's charts and you think, oh, I want a kitchen knife in this steel because the edge retention numbers are higher than everyone else. I wanted to see where this heat treat falls within that category. I have done ice block testing on Steve's knives before, the ones that I paid for on the Steadfast, and they perform very well. So I decided to actually test that out. I did my testing a couple months ago, and what I found was that this CPM D2 outperformed all the others. 15V was borderline, but I decided it wasn't enough to pass the initial testing. VG10 actually passed, BD1N actually passed, if I remember right, and so did this. But this actually kept on going. It wasn't dramatic how much more it was able to outbeat the other ones, but it still beat the other ones. It's still ranked the highest out of the 5 knives or in the 5 steels that I did do testing with. Overall, compared to the Steadfast, I feel like this is a little bit easier to carry. I feel like the Steadfast is a little better ergonomically. However, the knife you carry is the knife you're going to use. So carryability, ergonomics, I feel like there's a trade-off between both. So far, I got no issues with this heat treat, with this steel, with the sheath, everything. Everything lines up perfectly fine. Very ergonomic. Overall, very happy with this.